I don't know what else to tell you, man. What have I been saying? What have I been telling you? No intro today, folks. No intro today. We're going to jump right into it. And all I got to say is, it's got to shrug my shoulders. LOL at everybody who said the Steelers have no chance this game. LOL at everybody who said Bills by $1 billion. LOL at everybody who wrote this team off months and months before the season even started. How's that clown makeup? How's that red nose? Yeah, that's what you are. Just kidding. But still, LOL at all those people, man. Victory Monday today, folks. It is Victory Monday, and wow, it feels so great. And it goes for, everybody. Whatever team you're a fan of, obviously Victory Monday, when you're walking into school, you're walking into work, your team got the big W. It's always a great feeling. But it was just a great feeling being back at it, you know what I'm saying, in front of the TV, football's back, the Steelers are back, whoever your team for is back. Obviously, it's a great feeling, man. There's definitely a lot to kind of digest and a lot to kind of talk about. But as a Steeler fan, it feels great being 1-0. It feels great just really being able to, well, obviously not me, but just obviously the team, just shutting everybody up, making such a big statement win, man. And, hopefully people will kind of, we'll give them the respect they deserve coming out of this game. But maybe it just might open some people's eyes in regards of don't sleep on this team. Now, Buffalo. If you're a Bills fan watching this, if you're, if you're a supporter of the Bills, or maybe not, but nonetheless, Buffalo's going to be okay. I'm going to get into things here in a minute, but Buffalo's going to be okay. We know going into this year, obviously Buffalo had probably the best year they've had in I don't know how long last year. Josh Allen finally had a breakthrough season last year, really after kind of 2 mediocre seasons, and it just wasn't anything impressive he was doing. But sometimes it takes quarterbacks time, sometimes. First round quarterbacks, other, whatever it might be. It's all different for everybody. We know the skill level Josh Allen has. We know the talent Buffalo has on offense. Like I said, we know the talent they've had on defense, as I said that yesterday, kind of talking up their defense too. They're going to be okay. And we know they're still going to be a favorite, to rep the AFC. They're still the favorite to win the AFC East. This stuff happens, man. Regardless of how good of a team, regardless of how good you are of a team or how good you expect the team to be going into the year, first game losses happen. 0-1 starts, 0-2 starts happens. It's the way it goes. And as I said yesterday, anything can happen on any Sunday. It's the way the game is. But they're going to be okay. They have too much talent there. They had a very successful year last year. They're really coming back with really the same squad, and there was really no need for them to change really anything up. Except, I guess, just really get over that hump that they couldn't last year in the playoffs. But I believe they have Miami coming up. That's definitely primed for a bounce-back game, I think, for this squad. Miami isn't a slouch of a team either, necessarily. They still have a nice, formidable defense, I think, but I think that this is definitely a game Buffalo is definitely going to take advantage of and bounce back. Buffalo's too good of a squad to, to not at least be reminiscent of what they were last year. I think for something of that not to happen, there's got to be something that just didn't work, wasn't clicking, things of that kind of nature, man. And it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is right now, I think, for the Buffalo team. It was just, they were just too overpowered. They were not overpowered, but the offense was definitely way overpowered. The offense was, a lot more. The offense was rattled, man. The offense was rattled, but I guess really my point is that if you're a Bills fan, it's only week one. It's only the first game. They were facing a very good defense. It happens. It happens, man. It happens. But obviously, as a Steeler fan, it was just great to see them get this win. It was a big statement win week one. That's what they needed. And you got to give kudos to Mike Tomlin, man. Mike Tomlin, I don't know why. There's Steeler fans that like him. There's Steeler fans that don't. I understand the negativity in regards of, he's underperformed, the lack of playoff wins lately, haven't won a Super Bowl since '08. I understand that. Wasted years of talent, I understand. But it's not everything's on him, though. And it shouldn't be. Mike Tomlin is easily a top 5 coach in this league. I think he's one of the more underappreciated, undervalued coaches, underrated coaches in all of sports across, man. I've always been a Mike Tomlin fan for as long as I've been a Steeler fan for. Yes, I've had my problems over the years. Yes, the lack of maybe preparation in previous years. Maybe the lack of playoff success in recent years. And yes, some of that falls on him and some of it doesn't. Time management, I think, is still just an issue for him. I think it's really just kind of been a, something that just kind of, hasn't really been a strong point for him, really kind of, I feel like, throughout his tenure here. But I think Mike Tomlin, there's reasons players love playing for him, man. There's reasons players respect him. There's reasons players who have been in Pittsburgh, when they leave, they say they miss it. They regret leaving. They have nothing but good things to say about the organization. And Tomlin, man. Tomlin knows how to win. He knows how to coach his players. He knows how to motivate his players. He's highly respected. He's a great mind. He's never had a losing season. And I understand that might be a little overused, but still, if you're a coach for 14 seasons and you've never had an under 500 record, I don't know what else to tell you. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He always keeps his team in the mix of everything, regardless of how the team's looking every year. And I can go on and on about Mike Tomlin. I've always liked him. I think there's a lot more positives regarding him than the negatives. So the people that are down on him, I really think their main problems are, and they'll probably always be that way if not a fan. I really think the issues are, at least mostly, are maybe lack of playoff success, wasted years. Over some years, we've seen some lack of preparation, losing games they should win, things of that kind of nature, which are all valid. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at the bigger picture of Tomlin, man, I mean, he knows how to coach his team. He does. He knows how to coach. He's been a very successful coach, and I don't think you can take any of those things away from him. I'm a big advocate, and I think yesterday is definitely, in recent years, one of the biggest wins on Tomlin's resume. In recent years, absolutely. Absolutely. The Steelers odds were very against them, literally, going into this game. Mostly everybody thought Buffalo was going to win this game. Maybe Buffalo kind of got ahead of themselves as well. I think fans were pretty cocky in regards of, I think fans were pretty cocky. Not all fans, but I think fans were kind of ahead of the game. Buffalo fans were kind of ahead of the game. Not all, but just some that I was maybe coming across on social media, and maybe even just generally speaking, I'm sure that there were a good amount of Buffalo fans who thought they had this game in the bag. And I understand, if I was a Buffalo fan, I definitely would have thought that they would have had this game, that, I would have said, yeah, we're going to win this game. It might not be a high-scoring game, might not be lopsided, but I understand that, and rightfully so. Heck, I picked Buffalo to win yesterday, but my point is standing that you could not write the Steelers team off tomorrow, or, speaking yesterday, or Saturday's show. My Steelers and Bills preview, I was saying, do not write the Steelers off. The Steelers had a big opportunity, a big chance to win this game, and I would not be surprised if they did, and they won. So yes, I picked Buffalo in a very close game, and I think, why wouldn't I have? Why wouldn't I have? Just because I'm a Steeler fan, I'm not going to pick them to win every single game. I was wanting to be kind of realistic here, but at the same time, I knew in my heart and in my head, the Steelers have a big chance to win this game, and they did, and they proved really everybody wrong, I think, for the most part. But kudos to Mike Tomlin. Kudos to Keith Butler as well, the Steelers defensive coordinator, man. Their game plan going into this game was excellent, was way so much different than what we saw last year. And I talked about this on the show. It's a different Steeler team than what Buffalo played last year. Their defensive game plan against Buffalo's offense was great. They kept Josh Allen in the pocket. I believe Josh Allen only had one pass coming outside of the pocket. Josh Allen, he's not a running quarterback, but he is a mobile quarterback. He can get outside the pocket, move around, make some plays, get the ball down the field, or, maybe if he sees an opportunity to run, get some yardage, get a first down, he'll do that. He's a mobile quarterback. He can obviously move, but the Steelers kept him in the pocket, and we saw they honestly didn't really like blitz in the way. A lot of times, they had a lot of guys in the second, a lot of cornerbacks, a lot of DBs lined up in the secondary. Buffalo was so pass heavy, and the Steelers knew that. The Steelers knew they weren't going to utilize their running game a whole lot. They knew how pass heavy they were, and obviously they learned things from their previous matchup too. So, you had your four that you sent, but also, TJ Watt, added so much pressure. Melvin Ingram, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, and I'll go into those guys in a minute. But Buffalo's offensive line had no answer for the Steelers' pass rush or anything like that. It's not like the Steelers sent freaking 7 guys to just attack Josh Allen all game or anything like that. The Steelers sent their 4 guys, really, to get after him. It's not like they loaded it up in regards of that. I think they only did it maybe like one time, if I can think of. A very low percentage amount of times. They sent everybody back. They had so many guys in the secondary. Because like I said, they knew that the Bills were going to come out pass heavy. Josh Allen threw over 50 passes. I don't know what else to tell you there. The Bills' offensive line had no answer for the Steelers' pass rush. They had no answer for Cam Hayward. They have no answer for TJ Watt, Melvin Ingram, Alex Highsmith, none of those guys. The Bills I believe they had 6 holding calls called on them the whole game. About 3 of those were in the first quarter alone, and there probably should have been more calls against them. They couldn't contain it. And because of the way the Steelers were playing that Buffalo offense, Josh Allen had a hard time. He didn't really get a lot of opportunities slinging the ball down the field. There were a couple times that he did have a couple guys down there that did beat the DBs, but he overthrew them. And Josh Allen wasn't good at all. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to go into the Steelers stuff too in regards of, things that they need to work on, and as well things that they didn't do. But right now, I'm praising what needs to be praised, and it's the Steelers defense. By far. Way 100,000 times, much more than anything or anybody coming out of this game. This was the best Steelers performance that I can really recall in a little while. We know the Steelers defense has been top tier the last 2 years. They were the best in the NFL in 2019. They were top 3 last year in really every category. And this year isn't going to be any different. But it was a masterpiece of a defensive game plan coming out, man. They were beating the offensive line, getting a lot of pressure on Josh Allen. Josh Allen had to make some forceful throws, some quick decisions as well. And it just really disrupted his rhythm, I thought, a lot as well throughout the game. He never really got things going. He never got in an offensive rhythm at all. At all. And the way the Steelers played him, it was excellent, man. It was excellent. And I said that on Saturday's show. Some of the key factors is really taking advantage of the Bills' offensive line, having Allen maybe throw some questionable passes, limit the amount of time he has, limit those big plays down the field, and they did that. Stephon Diggs had 9 catches for 69 yards. He wasn't really too much of a factor. Cole Beasley was a non-factor. I believe Gabriel, one of the Bills receivers, I think that's his name, he scored the touchdown, which was pretty well defended, I thought. It was just a better throw and a better catch. He got both feet down. It was a good play. But yeah, I mean, that was the highlight. That was the big thing coming out of this game, is the Steelers' defensive game plan and how they contain the Bills' offense, because we know the Bills' offense is a very good offense, a very effective offense. We know that. But kudos on the Steelers, man. Kudos on them on getting the job done from that aspect. Absolutely great stuff. The there was a big play, a big turning point, I thought, in this game, man. Once the Steelers, what was it? Once they, trying to think what point. It was in the second half, but obviously, I'm just trying to think what point in the game it was. I think it was sometime in the third quarter. The Steelers special teams had a big block punt, and I think it was shortly after the Steelers scored that touchdown to Deontay Johnson in the third quarter. They blocked the punt. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. I know it didn't happen before. It happened after, 100%. I think the Steelers were up. What were they up? It was 10-10. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think exactly when this happened. It happened after the Deontay Johnson touchdown. I believe the Steelers, what was it? Got the field goal, I think. I think when they scored this, it brought them to 20 points, I believe. But anyway, nonetheless, a huge part in the third quarter, because this was huge. Bills were punting, a big block punt by Miles Killebrew. He played for the Detroit Lions. He's a big special teamer, and that's why the Steelers brought him in. Recovered by Ulysses Gilbert for the touchdown. Sometime in the third quarter, I think it was a little bit more toward the end of the third, middle part of the third quarter. Huge. Absolutely huge. I don't necessarily want to say a turning point, but it was a huge play, obviously, in general. But it was a huge play to get those insurance points for the Steelers. A huge play because, it was just going to make things much more difficult, which is things were difficult already. But in regards of, the Bills trying to creep their way back and get back in this game. And it was just because, here's the thing, we saw, at this point in time, it was still really a one-possession game. It was still fairly close. Buffalo wasn't out by it by any means. But once the Steelers really blocked that punt and got there, they really got the advantage, the momentum. It was just a really big swing of things, I felt like, in their direction after, the touchdown and coming back and tying the game and things like that. Taking the lead. Because that, I think that was really... Like I said, I don't want to say a turning point, but I felt like it was just such a key factor in regards to that game and making things more difficult for Buffalo, getting back into it, and really helping them out. Because who knows? If that didn't happen, who knows if Buffalo... You know what I mean? Things could have been easier, obviously. The Steelers' offense, I think, would have had to do a little bit more, later in the game to kind of try to ice the game, seal the deal, and it just made things that much easier, and it was just such a big play. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The Steelers' offense in this game, it was pretty putrid in the first half. I believe they only had 56 total yards in the first half. It looked, outside of motioning guys around and things like that, it looked very reminiscent of what we were seeing last year. Short passes, not really getting the ball down the field. They were trying to get the run game going, but the offensive line just wasn't getting movement. There wasn't really even a point in the game where the offensive line really looked like they had the advantage. But they just couldn't get Harris going, no fault to his own. It was just... It was. And going into halftime, it was like, here's the thing, man. Well, it was 10-0 going into half. And, right? Let me see real quick. Let's look here at the team stats. Yeah. So, here's the thing. It was... Yeah, going into half, the Steelers, I believe they were down 10-0 going into the half. It was like, okay, they're still in this game. The defense is playing their tail off. And really, to start this game, really reason why Buffalo had it 3-0 early on, the first game in the kickoff, they ran it all the way up to pretty much like the 20-yard line. The Steelers D did their job preventing them from getting a touchdown. But still, it just wasn't an ideal way to start that game. But the Steelers, it was like, dude, the defense is doing everything they can. And it's going to be a matter of time where they just can't hang on anymore because you're relying on them so much. They're on the field. If you're not really producing offensively, it's just going to be a matter of time until Buffalo takes us over. The defense, like I said, I just went over all that. But the offense really came out of the second half. And, the Steelers scored pretty much 20 unanswered points. They pretty much won the second half, I believe, 23-6, I think, was the... I believe that was the... swing point total and things like that in the second half, 23-6. The Steelers scored 20 unanswered points, and coming out of the second half, the offense, it looked like that they were moving the ball more. They got Harris running a little bit more. There were a couple times he had some big yardage plays. Well, not big yardage, but he got 9, 10, 11 yard runs, things like that. Had a couple of those. So they look like it's not even that the play calling I didn't even think was bad, but really coming into the second half, it's like, all right, we have to change this, and I think that the Steelers knew things on offense weren't going to click right away with a new offensive line. You had 2 starters on that line, you had 4 new guys on that line. I think the Steelers knew that the offense wasn't going to be gelling right away. The offense probably wasn't going to be too effective right off the bat, and it wasn't. But at least in the second half, they made it adjustments that they needed to do. And, they kind of started getting the ball down the field a little bit more. Chase Claypool had a big touchdown, but Chase Claypool had a big, he had a big play down the sideline. Big grab over Trey White. I believe that's who was covering him. They did a couple end-around sweeps that really worked out and got big plays. Another one to Claypool, which was good. So they started to kind of mix things up a little bit, started to get a little bit more creative, getting guys down the field. I felt like Big Ben, I felt like, they just came out more aggressive. They came out more aggressive in the passing game, man. He had some... some nice throws to Juju for X amount of yards. Obviously the touchdown to Deontay where the Steelers really got up to the goal line. Nice fade to Deontay and a great catch. Like Ben placed it where it was catchable, but just really good concentration on Johnson's part. Securing the ball, getting both feet in. Really good stuff. The Steelers, that's the thing. Like they only had 1 touchdown. But they got up. They got needed points on the board from Boswell as well. Some big kicks. So they did what they needed to do. It was different. They were more aggressive offensively. They moved the ball a lot more. And within 3 possessions in the second half of offense, they had over 200 total offensive yards. And that's great. And that's what you want to see. So I think they knew coming in this game that they probably weren't going to be able to... really get things going right away. Like I said, it's a new O-line. It's a new system. It might take a little bit of time, but they did enough, to get those points on the board. They did enough to, get ahead of Buffalo and things like that. And, it was enough to do that. It was enough to do that. There was also a really key point in this. It was 4th and 1, and Buffalo had the ball. I'm trying to think what point in the game this was. I can't remember if this was the 3rd or the 4th quarter. I wrote down the play because I kind of took some notes in regards to things I wanted to cover. I wrote down the play, and I'm sure Bills fans were probably scratching their head, but Buffalo, they were going for it on 4th and 1. Okay, so we're thinking, all right, so Josh Allen's a big guy. He can definitely do a QB sneak. Maybe they hand it off. Maybe they get a fullback involved. Maybe they... do some kind of motion play. I really don't know. But what they did was, it made no sense. Josh Allen hiked it. He kind of dropped back. And it seemed like they were trying to get creative. But Cam Sutton, and I'll get into him in a minute. Cam Sutton read it the whole time, man. Cam Sutton was standing there, pretty much at the line of scrimmage. And Josh Allen kind of dumped it off to, I believe, one of their running backs or whoever it was, about a few yards behind, behind him. And just trying to really take it as a straight shot for really just a big play. That's really what it seemed like that Buffalo was aiming, because they haven't been able to get these big plays down the field. It was 4th and 1. It seemed like that they were trying to get creative a little bit and try to get a huge, massive gain of yards off this 4th and 1 play, trying to throw the Steelers off, and it didn't work. Josh Allen hiked it, pretty much kind of did a little kind of a little shovel pass in a way to the running back or whoever it was over there, and, just really take a straight shot and get a big gain out of it. Cam Sutton read it the whole way, man, and tackled him for a loss of yards. And I really don't understand that, why when you're 1 yard away, why you want to dump it backwards. I don't. Sure, sometimes it might work, but, you're trying to, you're trying to get back into this. I don't know why, you want to keep that drive going. Try to just get that yard and go forward. At least that's my point of view of it, but that was a really big key aspect in the game. Also, another big key aspect in this game was where, I think it was where Buffalo, I think they had 16 points at the time. No, 13. I think they had 13 points at the time because they did kick the field goal at the end, toward the end of the game, and try to do it onside. I think they had 13 points at the time here. And I believe it was Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, kind of a little bit more in the middle of the field. Josh Allen hit him for a big gain, and it seemed like that he caught it. But Trey Norwood, just an amazing, or not Trey Ward, James Pierre with an amazing pass breakup right out of Stephon Diggs' hands, and I believe that led to a 4th down after that. It was an absolute amazing play, a clutch play in crunch time as well. So kudos to James Pierre on that. Obviously, if you watch this game, you know what play I'm referring to. I'm trying to really kind of explain it and try to paint that picture as best as I can if you don't know the play. But it was 3rd and a little bit, can't remember the exact yardage point, but it was 3rd and quite a bit of chunk of change. Josh Allen hit Diggs. It looks like Diggs secured it, and James Pierre just knocked it right out of his hands, leading up to a 4th down, I believe. It was an absolute incredible play, and especially in that kind of key of a moment in the game by James Pierre, so that was really great. Really, I guess let's kind of switch it back to Buffalo real quick. Really what Buffalo did not do this game was, again, like I said, they came in this game super pass heavy. And I know that they don't really have a great rushing attack, but you have to be a little bit more balanced than that. And they didn't do that. Kind of down the stretch, Devin Singletary got a few pretty good runs. Pretty few big gains, but they weren't really giving him many carries or opportunities throughout. I thought what Buffalo did well, and I give them a lot of credit for this. They did contain Najee Harris. They really got physical in front of the offensive line, or on the Steelers' offensive line. Like I said, I don't think the offensive line had an advantage really at all throughout the game. So they really took advantage of, that kind of weak link there. They did hit Big Ben. I believe they got 1 or 2 sacks on him. They did kind of get some hits in on him. But yeah, really the focal point, they really did a good job at containing Harris, at containing the run, and just really kind of overwhelming the offensive line in the sense where, not letting them get that movement, that push up front. So they did do that. Buffalo didn't get nearly as the pressure the amount the Steelers did, but they did get some stuff on Ben there to try to, get him off and get him off kind of, making a, poor decision maybe, or forcing a throw or things like that. They did get that pressure there. There was a point in time where it looked like Ben threw an interception to Tre'Davious White, but it was holding. I think maybe Ben kind of saw it because it was kind of a really late throw. I think Ben maybe tried to throw it that direction to try to get a call because, he saw Deontay getting held, and I think he tried to maybe throw it in that direction to kind of get a call, and he did. Maybe not, but that is possible. The Bills didn't let any big plays happen down the field. It's not like there was really any Steeler wide receiver getting beat or anything like that. I don't really think that was a Steelers game plan coming to this game either. I think they kind of wanted to play a more safe offensive game, not turn over the ball, things of that kind of nature, but they did a good job containing, Claypool kind of getting past guys or DJ or whoever it might have been. So Buffalo's defense wasn't bad at all. I just think, really later on in the game, the Steelers just kind of became just more aggressive, took advantage of maybe a little bit of field position, took advantage of some of the PI or holding calls, things like that, and got points on the board that way. But yeah, it was just a really big turnaround the second half. The Steelers, there were some plays too, they got creative where, Ben kind of dropped back, looked like maybe he was going to hand off to Harris, maybe a little, toss over here to his left side, and they had a receiver. They did this twice. They had a receiver on the right side of Big Ben, and it was kind of more of a screen kind of pass, but they kind of did a little bit of motion and things like that. Ben going this way, Ben kind of going that way, threw a little screen, and it worked both times, and they got really good yardage out of it because the defense, I don't really think, knew what direction, to really kind of go in and during that point in time when that play was being done. So it's kind of things like that, too, we're going to kind of see from the Steelers offense. So we did see, that's the thing, we did see a different offense. We saw the motion, we saw some of the jet sweeps, we saw kind of the little, fake here, fake there, screen pass there. But I think it's going to take some time for the Steelers offense to kind of gel. I think it's going to take some time to just kind of keep learning the system, try to utilize different guys in different ways. Najee Harris wasn't utilized at all, really, in the pass game. That's definitely going to change. They know how much of a difference maker Najee Harris is in that aspect as well. That's definitely going to change. I really just think they kind of came in this game just trying to feel things out. Offensively, like I said, they knew that they knew they weren't gonna be putting a ton of points on the board. New system, it's gonna take some time to gel that. It's gonna take some time for the new offensive line to gel as well. But really what the Steelers need to do, obviously we saw the lack of movement up front, right? Obviously we saw the lack of creating holes for Harris. I think they could have utilized the left side of the O-line and get Harris maybe going. I think they could have maybe tried to utilize that more than they did because that's the strong part of the offensive line. But really, again, and it dates back to last year, creating those holes for Harris to run and getting physical, getting that movement up front, they need to be better with. I think the Steelers, like I said, the new offensive system, things like that, the creativity, that's great. It can work in a lot of different ways. But we still do have to see passes down the field, stretching the field out, things like that. And I think we will. But I think going to this game against a pretty solid Buffalo defense, like I said, their defense is no slouch of a defense at all. I think the Steelers wanted to kind of play it more safe, not turn over the ball, and just really get a feel for things in this new offense. And I think that's really kind of what we saw. Big Ben, it seemed like that he was getting frustrated at the end. Things just weren't working. And again, like I said, they came out of the second half. Things really kind of looked like they, were adjusted. They made different adjustments. I thought they came out pretty, just trying to get the ball down more and try to be consistent and those kind of things. And they did do that. It definitely was a better looking offense the second half. I lost my train of thought. Yeah. And Big Ben, it just looked like he was trying to manage the game. He was trying to, just kind of keep the offense out there. He was smart with the ball. He played a pretty clean game. He went 18 for 32, I think, 188 yards and a touchdown. That's fine. For really the circumstance and really kind of the new offense and things like that. And it wasn't going to be an easy game either as well. Kind of the struggles in the first half. I thought he bounced back pretty well in the second half and the offense as a whole. But he really was kind of taking the role as a game manager this game, and we'll probably see that really throughout the year. But, just going forward, they just got to get Harris going. They got to find ways to get him going, get implemented more in that pass game, man. Get more physical up front, move guys around. Those are really things they got to do. But kudos on really adjusting things in the second half, everything like that. But, yeah, it was... I really think some guys that really had good performances from both sides. I'll start with Buffalo. I give credit, like I said, I give credit to Buffalo's secondary. It's not like there were really passes really thrown downfield, really. But I thought, Buffalo's secondary played it well to not let guys get through that, because we know guys like Claypool and Deontay can get pretty free down there a lot of times, so they limited that. Trey White's one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL. Other than really the Claypool catch over him, it seemed like, and I guess the holding call, it seemed like Trey White pretty much held his own against really the strength of the Steelers' offense, which is really just the receivers that they have and they use. I think that, but it was just, here's the thing, and I'm not saying this because I'm crapping on Buffalo, but it's just how it is, man. It's just it just wasn't really a good game from their offensive standpoint. There isn't really anybody on the offense from Buffalo that I can really sit here and say, yeah, they were really effective. They weren't. The offensive line wasn't good. They gave up a lot of pressure on Josh Allen. Like I said, they couldn't contain the Steelers' pass rush. Josh Allen just couldn't get in a rhythm. He couldn't get things going. He couldn't get really a connection with Diggs. Receivers did drop the ball a couple times as well for him. Seemed like probably his best connection, was maybe Dawson Knox a couple times. But it just wasn't there for the offense. And I saw some people saying that, already kind of crapping on Josh Allen. I don't really think that's fair to say. I don't really think that's fair at all. I think we know what Josh Allen can do and his talent and his level as a quarterback, but when you're playing against a top-tier defense like that, those things are going to happen. Ineffective, just not really being able to do a whole lot. And when you're just played really well in that game plan the whole game the way it's been, it's hard for their offense or really any offense to really be productive in that regard. So obviously they have things they got to work on, but I really think the Bills secondary was really the strong suit of this game, just not really letting anybody get by them, not really letting a lot of passes in the middle of the field happen. But some guys from the Steelers, man, that really stuck out to me this game. Melvin Ingram. What a signing Melvin Ingram was, man. What a signing Melvin Ingram was. And I knew it was a good signing going in, but he just played great. I knew that he was going to get a lot of opportunity, even though Highsmith is really mainly the guy at the other side of at the other edge side. Melvin Ingram is still going to get a lot of opportunity, a lot of play. And Melvin Ingram, man, he was just getting past guys, getting off blocks, really just laying hits on Josh Allen. And he was all over the place. And I give a lot of credit to him. Probably since Joe Hayden, this could end up being the best Steelers free agent signing, to be quite honest with you, since Joe Hayden. So Melvin Ingram was phenomenal. TJ Watt didn't miss a beat, man. TJ Watt didn't miss a beat. TJ Watt had 2 sacks. He had, I believe he had 5 QB hits, forced fumble that the Steelers didn't take advantage of. But just a great game, didn't miss a beat. Exactly shows why you have to pay guys like that, why he's, aside from Aaron Donald, the best defensive player in the NFL. Absolute great stuff from him. And I think Tomlin really handled the Watt contract thing really well, in practice, because Tomlin said, I'm pretty sure he said that it was kind of something hovering around, so he was really glad to get that out of the way with, and just everything full focus can be on Sunday against Buffalo. So really getting that out of the way with, handling that well, and, getting TJ Watt all set in stone, man. TJ Watt was ready to work. He's ready to go to work, and we knew that, he was obviously wanting to throughout this time, but you can't risk things at the same time. So he didn't miss a beat. Phenomenal game from him. He's just a stud, and we know that. Trey Norwood was a guy, too. I give credit to Trey Norwood, man. 7th-round pick in the draft this year. The Steelers, there were some questions about who the Steelers are going to use with Mike Hilton being gone. Who's going to be that slot guy? Who's going to play nickel, or if they're in dime or whatever, who's going to be in those spots? We saw Cam Sutton start out against, aside from Joe Hayden. We saw James Pierre in there a little bit as well. But Trey Norwood got a lot of time there in the secondary. And he held his own, man. Trey Norwood, he had a couple nice plays in the end zone, the back of the end zone. He had a really nice pass breakup as well. Trying to think who that was to. There was one play as well in the fourth quarter, I think, where there was a guy wide open. It might have been Diggs, but there was a guy. They had a guy wide open on the sideline, and it was obviously going to be a big first down gain. Trey Norwood comes around, smacks it out. I believe that was Trey Norwood. Maybe it was Cam Sutton, but anyway, Trey Norwood was utilized very well. I thought he really held his own throughout the game in different aspects of like that. Cam Sutton, I think really to wrap it up in regards of guys who really stood out to me, Cam Sutton, man, Cam Sutton was just all over the place with pass breakups, man. He was all over the place. Obviously, the big 4th and 1 play that I said. I mean, he's just... Cam Sutton is getting better every year. We're seeing leaps each year. This is his 4th year. We've seen leaps... this is his 5th... he was a free agent. They re-signed him. Sorry. This is his 5th year. Every year, he's gotten better, man. Every year... from his rookie year all the way up to now, he's gotten better, and he's continuing to get better. And the Steelers' defense is showing, there are some questions. All right, how's the secondary? Going into the season, it was questions in regards to how the cornerback position is going to be because there's no more Steven Nelson, who they cut, and Mike Hilton they didn't bring back. So, which was understandable. James Pierre is a guy, was possibly going to come in being the starting outside guy. This is really his first time as a starter. Got a little bit of time last year playing, but the Steelers liked him a lot. And so, all right, how's he going to be? Cam Sutton, where's he going to play at? Is he going to be back and forth in slot? Is he going to be, outside? Is he going to be back and forth? We weren't really sure. They went out and got Ahkello Witherspoon. We know this from Seattle. He was inactive, but I expect him probably to get active here soon. And then also Trey Norwood. Trey Norwood was a guy that they really like what they saw from him coming out of camp, coming out of practice, and they gave him the opportunity. And what we saw in this game, and really no better team to do this again in an offense than against Buffalo's offense, honestly. It's hard to really even describe. Joe Hayden didn't show his age at all. Joe Hayden's 32. He's been great. He's been great for Pittsburgh. Their best signing in a very long time, free agent signing. We know this. Joe Hayden, absolutely great. Aside from him, it was just kind of question marks in regards of, okay, who's going to be where? Who's going to play where? How are these guys going to operate? How are these guys going to do? And Cam Sutton, complete stud yesterday. Really just made big play after big play. Trey Norwood held his own as a 7th-round rookie, starting, making his big debut. And James Pierre also had, like I said, that really big pass breakup. Never let anybody get by him for the time he was on the field. So I'm not really sure how the Steelers are going to go about this going forward. I'm not really sure if they're in man, if they're just going to kind of stick with Hayden Sutton. I'm assuming they're probably just going to move a lot of guys around from Sutton playing outside, inside, getting James Pierre out there playing outside. Witherspoon, I'm not really sure how they're going to utilize him. He's really an outside guy. We'll see what happens with that. Trey Norwood obviously is going to continue to get more opportunities. To play back there and to get time as well, whether it's in dime, nickel, wherever the heck that they want to put him at. And he's deserved that. He really held his own. I think the Steelers were fairly pleased with his performance. So good stuff on there and just great stuff all around. Like I said, this was the best Steelers performance that I've seen in a little while. And we know how good they've been the last 2 years. I mean, they've had great performances last year and in 2019. 100%. I can go back at the games and tell you that. But really, just with how polarizing, how good of an offense this Bills offense is, how good we expected and do expect Buffalo to be this year, it was just a great statement and just a great game plan and just great all-around defense from everybody involved. And I know I've been talking about this the whole time, but you know what? They deserve all that praise, man. They deserve all that praise. It's absolutely incredible and just a great all-around game from everybody on that defense. Devin Bush made some tackles, so it was his first game back. Schobert in there as well. They really contained the middle of the field, I thought. Just great all around from everybody. Cam Hayward was so disruptive. I think I saw on Twitter that in regards of the top 5 most pressures coming out of Sunday's games from all defensive players, 4 out of 5 were Steeler guys. Cam Hayward led the way with about 12. And he had a sack too. Cam Hayward's a freaking beast, man. He had a sack. I believe he might have had he did have a forced fumble that could have possibly been overturned or the Steelers could have challenged. I mean, it was just remarkable. It was just a remarkable performance against a really good Bills offense. And we know that the Bills offense is going to be really good this year. It's the first game, so no Bills fan should be worried, you know what I mean, or anything like that. I think everybody should still expect the Bills offense to, click eventually here and get things going for sure. The Bills are still going to be a solid team, no question. But in regards of that, it was just a flawless game plan defensively. It was a flawless performance by everybody involved on the Steelers defense, and this is just a top-tier defense that's going to lead the way throughout the year for this team. It is. Like I said, offensively for the Steelers, they turned things around the second half. They got better. They got better moving the ball down the field. They got more aggressive, and especially later on in the fourth quarter, when it really kind of came to a one-possession game, it was really good that the Steelers just didn't try to milk the clock and just try to run with Harris. It was good they were aggressive down the field, trying to get first downs. There was a really clutch play from Ben to Juju, I believe, on third down. A really nice, back shoulder pass from Ben to Juju. That was good. Ebron was there as well, with a good catch in the middle of the field as well. So things like that, it was really good that the Steelers stayed aggressive toward the end of the game and trying to really ice it and got up and they got that extra field goal that they needed. So that's what needed to be done. So that was really good. So kudos on that part. But like I said, man, I think it's a growing process for the Steelers offense, and I think that we're going to, I think really early on, we're going to see some growing pains. We're going to see some, them just trying to adjust to a different system and things like that. But I expect it to still be better than what we saw last year, to be more effective. Najee he's going to get going. He's going to get going. And those are just things that they have to make sure they do and work on. They know that. Now, Chuks Okorafor was terrible yesterday. He was moved to right tackle. Maybe when Zach Banner's healthy, they plug Banner there at right. They leave Dan Moore at left. Okorafor, I felt, out of everybody on the offensive line, Okorafor was very rattled. He let guys get off him. He wasn't good. He wasn't good getting out, making the blocks, things like that. It wasn't a good performance by him. And, he's going to have another couple games, I'm sure. But here's the thing, man. If the right tackle spot, whether it's Okorafor or Banner, just isn't rolling, you might have to go out and make a move. Because Dan Moore, yes, he's a rookie, a fourth-round rookie, but he had a phenomenal preseason and camp. Yes, you got to give guys like that time, but I like him a lot better at left tackle than Okorafor. Dotson, he's a stud. Kendrick Green, there were a couple times, had a couple hiccups, but he has a very high ceiling. Heck, he was rated pretty highly as well coming out of that game. I don't really think there's a problem with him. Trey Turner was kind of hit or miss, but there was a lot of effort. There was physicality from him, things like that. I think that will be okay, but I think really that right tackle spot's probably the most questionable on the O-line, but really, that's what it is moving forward. We knew that this was questionable. We knew this was going to be a question coming into the season. They might need some time to gel. Like I said, it's all new. But if things just don't kind of really improve within the first few weeks, they might have to make a move on that. They might. Also, speaking of blocking, leading up to the Big Ben to Deontay Johnson touchdown, Najee Harris had about 11-yard run. Got to give credit to Pat Freiermuth, man. Pat Freiermuth, when Najee Harris was coming to the right side, Pat Freiermuth came right in, set a really good block. He swung right in, set a really good block on one of the Bills' defensive guys to get Harris rolling. Because if that didn't happen, Harris wouldn't really have had much of a gain. But because of that block, Harris was able to get around and get moving and things like that. And this is exactly what I've been saying. When the Steelers took Pat Freiermuth in the second round, people were very questionable. Why isn't it an offensive lineman? This is what I'm saying. Pat Freiermuth was very involved in the run game a lot, in different situations, and things like that. He's a good blocking tight end. Eric Ebron is not. I said this. Pat Freiermuth is going to be, a part of this offense going forward. Probably him and Ebron. But he wasn't just drafted for his offense, man, or for his catching ability or anything like that. He was going to be utilized as a key piece in the run blocking game, run zone, whatever you want to call, whatever, And we saw that yesterday. He was in on those plays, and he made that huge block to get Harris that 11-yard gain, whatever it was, that set up that Deontay Johnson touchdown. So, And Harris could have maybe had a touchdown. There was one point as well where the Steelers got a field goal and Ben kind of threw it too high. That could have went for a touchdown possibly. They were kind of more toward the goals, the end zone goal line. But nonetheless, man, I mean, you got to give so much credit to the Steelers defense. What they did to this Bills offense, man, was remarkable. Bills, they'll get it going. They played a top defense that played them very well, that they might not have expected. Like I said, it was a different look. It was a different Steelers team this week than they faced last year. They were just rattled. They were shaken. They couldn't move the ball. So much pressure was given up. Heck, they had to hold a lot of times simply because of that. The Bills will get it going. We know that. There's no doubt in my mind that Buffalo is going to get their offense rolling throughout the year. There's no doubt in my mind that Buffalo is going to be a pretty solid team this year. No doubt. But they just couldn't hang, and they couldn't get anything past the Steelers' defense. It was simple as that. But the Steelers play the Las Vegas Raiders this Sunday at 1 o'clock. I'm going to be there. I will be there. I'm very excited. It's my first Steelers home opener. I've never gone to the home opener. I've been wanting to go lately, and so I got tickets. So awesome. I think, and we're gonna, we'll talk about this on our preview Saturday, but I think, we'll really see how the Steelers we'll really see maybe what changes are made offensively to Vegas. We'll see now. I don't think Vegas's defense is really up to par as what Buffalo's is. But we'll see if they can get the offensive line maybe a little bit more movement. We'll see if the offensive line, kind of bounces back and maybe gels a little bit better than what we saw here. Harris, I'd love to see them just kind of get the ball down the field a little bit more. But it might be something that just takes a few weeks and a little bit of time. But it is going to be better than what we saw last year. I know that. And we saw that in the second half. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I got some plans later on today. Monday Night Football, Ravens and Raiders tonight. That should be very fun, very exciting. We'll see how Baltimore's looking, man. They've kind of been halted with a few guys that went down. We'll see how the Raiders play them. I think Baltimore will win. But, we'll see. We'll see how they got some new pieces on the O-line. We'll see how this new rushing attack happens. We'll see how many, who starts and how many opportunities, who gets what. We'll see, really how the Ravens pass rush is, because I talked about this. So that'll be fun to watch. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's just the Steelers-Bills Week 1 recap, man. Here we go, Steelers. It was a great win, great 1-0 win. Great 1-0 win to really, make a statement and make a big statement win over Buffalo, man. Like I said, the Steelers should not be slept on, and I'm sticking to that and everything like that. I have no doubt in my mind they're going to have success this year. We all knew they were going to have a top defense. Like I said, flawless performance, amazing. Offense, there's some things that got to get going there, but it will with time. But here we go, Steelers, man, 1-0. Hopefully 2-0 against Las Vegas next week. So we'll see what happens, folks. But I hopefully hope that you all are having a good start to your week here. I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll kind of be talking about everything coming out of the weekend football-wise and things of that kind of nature. So we'll see what happens tonight. We'll see what happens with Ravens and the Raiders. But like I said, I'm gonna get out of here. But anyway, enjoy your week, guys. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. If you'd like to, like I say every time, just trying to keep reaching more people or really just kind of help things grow. But your guys' support's always appreciated. I hope you enjoyed this Steelers recap. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on everything about the Steelers' performance, Bills' performance, what you expect next week. So we'll see what happens. But 1-0, man, it's a great feeling, great statement win, and we'll see what happens Sunday. So, all right, guys. We will talk to you tomorrow. Take care.